Hi everybody, my name is Sam and we are here with Painting with Rec. And today we're going to be painting a spooky black cat for the fall season. So first I'm going to go over our materials here and then we're going to get started. We're going to start with acrylic paints. We have black paint, purple, yellow, green, brown, some white paint, and some various size brushes to use today. Over here we have a 16 by 20 inch canvas, and you can use any size that you'd like at home, okay? So we're going to get started by doing our background first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a large brush, and I have my three colors here for my background: yellow, green, and black. What I'm going to first start off is a large circle that's going to be our moon for our kitty cat. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to dip into my yellow here and coat my brush very well. And I'm going to find about the center of my painting here, and I'm going to draw a large yellow circle. So go ahead and start with getting a basic outline going on first. Then we're going to start to take our brush and work into a circular motion going with the shape that we are starting with. So go ahead and make a nice big yellow moon to start with. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep blending out that yellow, and we're going to add in some green. So I hope everybody at home is going to have a nice and safe Halloween holiday, whatever you celebrate. I know this year is a little bit different, but we all can find ways to have a good time at home and out in the neighborhood in a safe way. So let's keep that in mind. So this will be a nice activity to do, and you can do this year round. It doesn't have to be a Halloween specifically. So here we're going to keep our brush dirty because we're going to be doing some blending here. So we're going to dip into our green here, and we're going to go around that circle and create a nice gradient going on here. And we can blend into that yellow, and we're just going to go all the way around. And what we're going to basically do with that green is we're going to cover most of our canvas, because as you saw in the beginning, we have a nice dark green canvas, and then we're going to blend out into some more darker color towards the end. And what you can do is go back and add a little bit more yellow here and blend that in. And you can always go back and make that moon bigger or smaller. It's all up to you. Got a happy little moon going on here. Okay, so just keep following me. Just go ahead, and we're just going to keep in that circular motion. And we're going to stop about a quarter of the way down because we have a nice little fence that our kitty's sitting on, howling at the moon at night. So let's keep going. You can be very gestural with your strokes and see how I'm going all the way around my canvas. This specific green is called phthalo green, and it's a nice cool tone green, but for you folks at home, you can use any green that you like, but that is a specific color that I'm using here today. So go ahead and get up into that corner, and don't forget your sides, because it's always nice to finish off your canvas by doing those sides really nicely. So recently I actually got a little black cat, and his name is Hal. And he just kind of showed up one day and he became a part of my family. So this is a painting inspired by my new cat. So as our yellow is drying, we can add a little bit more yellow to that. I'm just gonna make my moon a little bit bigger. Kind of blend that green in. And we're gonna add a little bit of black to the edges very soon. But first, let's lay down this base color. We're gonna get up all the way to the edge, on the top, and we're gonna get on the sides too. All right, so here's the part where we're gonna add a little bit of black to kind of darken those edges here, because as the moon radiates out, that nice color, it gets darker the more away from the moon that we have here. So we're gonna we didn't even wash our brush. We're keeping our brush dirty so that we can keep blending here. And you can blend that out. We started from the corner and we're going back into our background here. And acrylic paints are really easy and nice to work with because they dry fairly quickly, but you still have room to mix and blend. Before it dries, so that's always a good thing. So let's keep going. And before we move on to our next step, we need to let our background completely dry. So that's always a very important part of painting, is being patient and letting our paintings dry before moving on to our next step. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of going over this yellow because we had a very stark yellow in the center and we want to blend that out a little bit more. So I'm taking my brush and running it over that yellow, recreating that moon here with a little bit of that green, because we almost want it to look like it's glowing. I'm adding some more yellow, and I'm swooshing it all together. So just let your brush take you into a nice circular motion. Take that glow out a little bit more. I added some more yellow. And this can be very relaxing and therapeutic to do. It's really fun and it's actually pretty easy once we break it down. So you and the whole family can do this painting together. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow. And some more green now. And you can play with this at home. Add more yellow, more green. Just see where it takes you. It's your painting, it's your vision. And we're gonna stop a little bit down here, so I'm gonna keep going a little bit more, and then we're gonna move on to our next step. But the background is about the most trickiest part of the painting. It's gonna take the longest. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you set a nice good chunk of time away for yourself so that you can learn how to make this painting on your own. So right now we are offering a lot of virtual options for you at home if you can't make it out to the rec centers, but currently we are open and we are being very careful in how we are executing our programming. So you can always give us a call. We're up here at Cadell Fine Arts, and see if there are any openings available for classes. And you can learn painting too. You can learn ceramics. There's lots of different options for you. But if you feel more comfortable at home, you can always tune in to TV20 and see what we're offering that week. And you can always follow along with us. We're always happy to have you in any way and capacity. I'm getting these sides here, double checking, getting any of that white. I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow on the sides just for fun. And I'm covering up any little white spots you might see of the canvas kind of poking through. All right, so before we move on to our next step, we gotta let this dry. So we're gonna take about 10 minutes to let our painting dry, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna finish up our little fence that we have here. All right, now that our background is nice and dry, we're gonna start on the fence part. So I have my colors here, and then from the fence, we're gonna start our cat. So we're gonna start with a little bit of brown, and we're gonna mix in some white on our square tip brush. It's important to use a nice square tip brush because that will give us that nice sharp line for the fence. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just basically gonna run my brush down like this, up and down. You can add in more brown or more white. And I also have a little bit of black here as well. I could take a little tiny bit on the tip of my brush and pull that in. And with our fence, it's gonna be kind of staggered. So we're gonna do it in different heights here. So I have one that's kind of up here, and I'm pulling this down all the way down to the bottom of our canvas. I'm trying to keep a nice steady hand to get those fence posts nice and straight. And I'm adding a little bit more white to this one just to kind of give it that woody texture. And you can go over that a couple different times. And we're gonna do that all the way down. So I'm gonna make this one up a little higher, add some more brown, all the way down. Very good. Going back, over. I'm gonna put this one down a little bit more. And you're gonna go up into your green background. And don't worry if it's showing through a little bit. We can always go back over that. With painting, it takes a lot of layering. So don't worry if it's not right the first time. We can always go over that one more time to get it just right. So I'm going up and down with my brush. I'm going back, grabbing some white, just kind of adding that in there wherever I kind of feel. And I'm going to keep going. I'm just going up and down. Adding a little bit of black. So once we kind of get over here, that's where a cat is going to sit. So it doesn't matter too much about staggering our fence post here, because that part's going to be hidden a little bit. So we just want it to get like a nice consistency here. I'm going to add a little bit of white just to kind of make some of my posts a little different. Going in with some brown, up and down. Let's keep going. And you just want to really fill in that white space there, so none of that is showing. Add a little bit of black. So here is where our cat's gonna sit. So we're not worried too much about what those tops look like, because we're gonna cover that up. Going in with my brown and my white, and I'm pulling that down and up. Cover up that background. So I hope you're doing pretty good at home on this. Everybody's painting is going to look different. It never turns out the same. Every time's going to be different. Add in some more brown. Kind of pop that out a little bit. And we're almost done with our fence. Gonna keep going. Here's our last post here, and we're also gonna go over and finish up those sides like we did before. Just take your brush and go along the side. It just makes our painting really come together when we do that. Now I'm just taking my brush and I'm adding a little bit of white. And you could take your black to your more dry places and kind of add that in to make it look like old wood. Yeah, that looks really nice. Pull that down, just very, very lightly with the top of our brush. We're not adding too much black, just a little bit. Now that's a nice fence. Check in the bottom. Okay, so I think I'm done here with my fence, and I'm gonna start working on the cat. So I'm gonna show you step by step in shapes to kind of get that cat just how we want it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to set my big brush to the side for now, and I'm gonna go with a smaller brush here. So I have like a pointed brush. It's gonna kind of work like a pencil for us so we can get these shapes in order. So what we're gonna do to start our cat is we're gonna start with our crescent moon, and that's gonna be our head. So what I mean by this is we're gonna kind of map out where we want our cat to sit, and I'm gonna kind of look at my reference here, and I'm gonna start by making my half moon. So I made a nice smile, and I'm pulling that down. This is gonna be the cat head, and I swoop that up. And we can always play with that later. We can make his head a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller depending on what we want. But right now we're just kind of sketching, so we're not worried about perfection at this point. So here we have our crescent moon, that's the cat's head, and we're gonna draw the big eyes. Remember, he's got really big glowing eyes. So let's draw 2 circles on our moon. just to kind of see where we're going. All right. Pulling that down a little bit more. And we're gonna draw I think I'm gonna actually start down here and work my way back up to the head. So let's see here. I'm gonna draw 2 eggs. That's kind of like the perch of the cat, his feet. And like I said, just kind of sketching out here, not trying to be totally perfect. This is gonna be our genie bottle. So we are pulling that line down and connecting the two. And we have our basic outline for the cat. So now we're gonna kind of color that in with the black. And I'm kind of going in the motion. Oh, and I got a little bit of black on my fence, but don't worry. I can always take my brush and pull that down. There we go. Only happy accidents, right? So let's color that in. Color in our genie bottle here. And we're gonna work on the tail next. So he's perched up, he's sitting on the fence, and he's gonna be looking at the moon. And he also has a little friend who is a little purple spider, and he's gonna be hanging off of the kitty's tail. So that part is optional. You don't necessarily have to have a spider hanging off the tail, but he's always a fun addition to add. So we're gonna color that in. He's looking really good. So when we're painting, we kind of want to go in the motion of our lines. So I'm kind of going with that, not against it. So I'm curving my line, going up into that smile, and around the eyes, doing the ears. And there's many different ways that you can kind of add your own artistic touch to this. You can add glow paint like we did in our firefly painting. You can add stars. There's many different ways to kind of make this painting your own. So keep that in mind. You always kind of want to be a little bit different than the teacher. Okay, he's looking good. It's always nice to kind of step back and take a look at it and see where we're at. All right, now that we have the body and the cat pretty much done here, what we're gonna do is start with the tail. So we want a nice big swirly tail. So I'm keeping my same brush, dipping into the black, kind of finding where I want my tail to go, and I'm going to pull that up. And I'm gonna swoop over just to kind of get my basic shape. And now I'm gonna go back over that with the black. Nice steady hand. So you wanna paint with confidence, because that's when you make mistakes, is when you don't have confidence in yourself. So you just wanna know that, yes, I can do this, and it will take you where you wanna go. So I'm just going over that line, thickening up that tail. Very good. I can tell you're doing a good job at home. Let's keep going. And we're gonna kind of taper that tail off towards the end, so it's gonna be a little bit thinner than the rest of our tail. And boom, there we go. At this time, we can kind of go over it and get any lines kind of cleaned up a little bit. with our black paint here. Okay, very good. All right. So our next step, guys, is we are going to go into the eyes. So I'm setting that brush aside and I'm getting a clean brush out. And to kind of make those eyes pop out, I'm gonna take some white. Dip in my brush into the white. And I'm gonna swoop over here and kind of color that in where you have that green. Adding a white base layer is going to kind of help those colors pop out more because we have such a dark background here that we want to make those eyes really glow. So I'm just coloring that in. Very carefully. And while that dries, we can get our smallest brush out and we're gonna work on the little webbing in the middle of the tail. So I have my smallest brush here. It's more of like a pointier brush. And I'm dipping into the black. And what I'm going to do here is I'm basically gonna make a series of X's. This is how you make a spider web. So I made an X here, and I'm gonna pull it up here, and you go across. So there's our web here, and you can add more if you'd like. So what we're gonna do once you have your crisscrosses, you're going to kind of make some curvy lines. So I'm gonna curve my line here. I'm gonna start from more of the middle, adding a series of curved lines going all the way around, adding more as I start branching out. See, that's cool. Getting some over here. All right, so our spider is gonna come down and I'm gonna kind of have him in the center of the tail. So pull that line down. And now we have some purple. And I'm just gonna kind of dry brush my brush a little bit, get some of that black off because we can use that to our advantage. So we're not really washing our brushes too much in this painting because we wanna kind of blend and make those really nice. So I'm going into my purple, adding a little bit of white to that, just so he really pops out. So let's make a nice little spider right here. Happy little spider right here. All right. Purple and white. And you can make him as big as you want. And our kitty cat's gonna be kind of looking down at him like, is he my new friend or is he something spooky? Very good. So now we're gonna add his little legs, going back into the black here with our small brush. And spiders have 8 legs, so we're gonna put 4 legs on each side. So I'm starting in the front and I'm just pulling down a line over and down, 3 and 4. Coming over to the other side, making a curved line and then pulling a line down. 2, 3, and 4. Okay, we've got to let our little spider guy dry a little bit before we add his eyes. So we're going to move back up to our kitty cat over here. So I'm going back to my brush where I used my white, and I'm going to add a little, I'm going to start with my yellow here. So I'm going to add some yellow to my brush. And I'm going to go in a circular motion, starting from the center and kind of radiating outward. And add a little tiny bit of green on the very, very tip of your brush here, because we want his eyes to kind of be glowing like the moon. Very cool. All right, going back in with that yellow, going over that white. Yeah. Add a little bit of green. And pull that with your brush over. I can do that to the other side again. And that'll blend really nicely together. I love that, very cool. Okay, so his eyes gotta dry for a minute, and we're gonna go back to our spider. Going back to our small brush, we're gonna use our little painter's trick for the eyes here. So I'm gonna take the back side of my brush and I'm gonna put it into my white, and this is how you're gonna make perfect little circles. So spiders have many eyes, so I'm gonna give them a bunch of little eyes here. So let's do 4 on the top and maybe like 2 underneath. So we just use our white with our white circles. And he's a nice spider, so we're gonna give him a little smile. And we're just gonna take the bottom part of our brush again, dip back into that black, because we're gonna give him little pupils. And go ahead and add that in. Very nice. We can even add a little bit of white to our spider web here, just to give it some highlight. So I'm gonna go over that real quick, just a couple little white highlights there, just to make it pop a little bit. All right, it's looking good. Our last piece of this is doing his little eyes kind of looking down at the spider that he has there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep with my small brush and I'm gonna go back into my black. And you don't want it to be too globby, you want to just have just enough on the tip there. So I'm kind of flattening out my brush. And I'm gonna go back up to my painting here and I'm gonna have him look down at his spider friend. And go ahead and fatten up that line. Awesome. So they're kind of looking up at each other. And I'm just, for my last little part, my little touch is adding a little bit of white to kind of make his eyes look kind of glossy and cartoony. And my favorite part and the most important part is to always sign your work. So I'm going to take some white, and in the corner I'm going to put an S for Miss Sam. And we're done. We've just completed an awesome painting of a kitty cat sitting on a fence howling at the moon with a little spider friend. I hope you really enjoyed painting with me today. Again, my name is Sam, and thank you for joining me with Painting with Rec. Have a nice day.